Before the first airplane soared, before man reached for the stars, there was another revolution, quiet, mechanical, and made of iron and fire. It began with a single spark, one that would change how humanity moved forever. The Benz patent Motorwagen, built in 1886, was not a car as we know it. It was an experiment. 3 wheels, 1 cylinder, and barely enough power to outrun a horse's trot. Yet within its trembling frame lived the soul of modern civilization. It was the beginning of motion without animal, the first heartbeat of the automobile. Soon after came the Duryea Motorwagen, the first American car, crafted by brothers Charles and Frank Duryea in 1893. It was crude, loud, and unpredictable, but it marked America's first step into the age of the machine. From across the sea in France, progress was gaining speed. The Panhard et Levasseur Type A refined the layout that would define every car to follow. Engine in the front, driven wheels in the rear. It was not the fastest, but it gave birth to order in a world of experimentation. By the dawn of the 20th century, the world had begun to imagine cars not as curiosities, but as companions. The Peugeot Type 3, delicate and elegant, carried this idea. It became one of the first cars to complete a long-distance journey, proving that reliability, not just novelty, would define success. Then came a machine that changed everything. The Ford Model T, born in 1908, was the people's chariot. It rolled off Henry Ford's revolutionary assembly line by the millions, turning the automobile from a dream for the few into a necessity for the many. It put humanity on wheels and gave the modern world its rhythm. But while Ford was simplifying motion, others sought to perfect it. The Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, with its whisper-quiet engine and hand-built grace, became a symbol of excellence. To ride in one was not merely to travel, but to glide, a silent ballet of engineering. Meanwhile, in Germany, Mercedes Simplex carried aristocrats across Europe's boulevards. Designed with refinement and power, it represented the dawn of prestige motoring, proof that the car could be both elegant and formidable. In Italy, art met engineering in the Fiat 300 Fair HP, a small but symbolic creation that laid the foundation for Italy's long romance with design. From this seed would grow the nation's obsession with beauty in motion. Then, in the 1920s, a new sound echoed across Europe, the high-pitched song of the Bugatti Type 35. With its perfect proportions and relentless speed, it dominated racing, earning over 1,000 victories. It wasn't just a car, it was art that conquered time. And in Britain, the Bentley 4.5-liter roared through Le Mans with reckless grace. Piloted by the Bentley boys, it became a legend of endurance and daring, the embodiment of British confidence between wars. As the engines of the 1920s fell silent under the shadow of war, humanity held its breath. When peace returned, it brought not only the promise of freedom, but the sound of it. The car became more than movement. It became identity, expression, rebellion, art. In 1938, a humble machine was born, the Volkswagen Beetle. Designed by Ferdinand Porsche, it was meant to be a car for the people. Small, round, reliable, it was built to endure. Over the decades, it would outlive empires, transcend politics, and become a global icon. The Beetle was proof that simplicity could achieve immortality. Then, from America's open roads came a new kind of legend, the Jeep Willys MB. Forged in the fires of World War II, this rugged, boxy machine became a symbol of resilience and courage. It carried soldiers across battlefields, through mud and dust, across continents scarred by war. The Jeep didn't just move men, it carried hope. As the guns fell silent, the engines sang once more. The Cadillac Series 62, with its tail fins and chrome, embodied the optimism of the post-war era. It was extravagant, unapologetic, and deeply American, a rolling statement that the world was ready to dream again. Across the ocean, another vision took shape in Italy, one born of precision and beauty, the Ferrari 250 GTO. Built in the 1960s, it was the perfect balance of grace and ferocity. Only a few dozen were made, each by hand. It won races, but more importantly, it won hearts. Even today, the 250 GTO stands not just as a car, but as a masterpiece, one that time itself cannot devalue. Germany, too, entered the post-war Renaissance. From Stuttgart came a shape so pure it seemed drawn by wind. The Porsche 356. Lightweight, nimble, beautifully simple, it became the cornerstone of the Porsche legacy. Its soft curves and humble power concealed a truth, that driving could be poetry. In France, elegance took a different form. The Citroën DS, unveiled in 1955, looked as though it had fallen from another planet. Its futuristic design, hydraulic suspension, and otherworldly presence redefined what a car could be. The French called it La Déesse, the goddess, and indeed, it seemed divine. America answered not with grace, but with power. The Chevrolet Corvette, introduced in 1953, captured the spirit of adventure. It was fast, bold, and proudly American, a sports car for dreamers who wanted to outrun the horizon. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, British precision took form in the Jaguar E-Type. When Enzo Ferrari first saw it, he called it the most beautiful car ever made. Sleek, seductive, and impossibly elegant, the E-Type was not just admired, it was desired. And finally, as the 1950s turned into the 60s, a new kind of legend was born. The Mini Cooper. Small, charming, and astonishingly capable, it defied everything about performance. It could outmaneuver giants on the racetrack and fit into the tightest streets of London. The Mini wasn't about power, it was about cleverness, a revolution in a compact form. By the dawn of the 1960s, the automobile was no longer just a machine. It was a mirror of human ambition. Nations competed not only in technology, but in style, sound, and soul. Each car was a statement, each one a story. From the industrial heart of Detroit roared a beast that would define an entire generation. The Ford Mustang. Born in 1964, it wasn't just a car. It was freedom on four wheels. It was affordable, fast, and unmistakably American. With its long hood and short rear, the Mustang ignited the muscle car revolution, a symbol of youthful rebellion that could be heard from coast to coast. But while America chased power, Italy sculpted passion. In 1966, Ferruccio Lamborghini unveiled a machine that would forever change the world's perception of what a car could be, the Lamborghini Miura. With its mid-engine layout and impossibly low stance, the Miura was a revolution wrapped in curves. It didn't simply move, it prowled. And it set the blueprint for every supercar that followed. Across the English countryside, the sound of refinement echoed in the form of the Aston Martin DB5. Elegant, powerful, and immortalized by James Bond, it was the very embodiment of British sophistication. The DB5 didn't need to shout. It whispered in the language of excellence. Germany answered with engineering precision. The Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. Those doors, lifting like wings, became a symbol of innovation. Beneath its beauty was raw performance, a top speed unmatched in its era. It wasn't merely a car. It was an idea that man could fly without leaving the ground. Meanwhile, Japan was quietly watching, learning, preparing, and then, with the turn of the decade, it spoke, in the form of the Toyota 2000 GT. Sleek, delicate, and meticulously crafted, it was Japan's first true supercar, a symbol that the East, too, could create art through engineering. In America, the obsession with speed only deepened. The Chevrolet Camaro arrived, Detroit's answer to the Mustang. With aggressive styling and deep power, it became the weapon of choice in an age when the open road felt like a battlefield. And then came thunder from Italy again, the Ferrari Daytona. It wasn't just fast, it was commanding. With its V12 heart and long sculpted body, the Daytona was the definition of masculine elegance. A car built not just to win, but to mesmerize. But it was the 1970s that brought the rise of defiance, and perhaps no car captured that spirit like the Dodge Challenger. Muscular, wide, unapologetic, it was Detroit's answer to conformity. When it roared, it didn't ask for permission. Across the ocean in Germany, the roads were built for speed, and so came the Porsche 911. Introduced in 1964, it became a legend not through power, but through perfection. Decade after decade, it evolved, never abandoning its soul, never losing its balance. The 911 wasn't a car that changed with time. It was a car that taught time what endurance meant. And just as the oil crisis loomed, a humble creation from Japan changed the world's idea of efficiency. The Honda Civic. Small, reliable, and brilliantly engineered, it became the face of a new era, one where practicality met purpose. The 1970s arrived cloaked in contradiction. The world had learned to go fast. Now it had to learn restraint. Oil prices rose. The roads grew quieter. And yet, in that silence, imagination found a new voice. From the small workshops of Italy came a machine that seemed to defy physics itself. The Lamborghini Countach. Sharp, angular, and wild, was a dream sculpted in steel. Its scissor doors sliced the air like wings of a fighter jet. It didn't care for subtlety. It existed to shock, to seduce, to show that the supercar had become art. Across the channel, Germany built something entirely different, the Volkswagen Golf GTI. It was compact, efficient, but thrilling in a way no small car had ever been. It birthed a new genre, the hot hatch. Ordinary on the outside, extraordinary within. It showed the world that speed could be practical, that performance could fit in the palm of your hand. Meanwhile, America's imagination drifted into nostalgia and fantasy. The DeLorean DMC-12, with its stainless steel body and gull-wing doors, wasn't just a car, it was a time machine of the public's mind. Though its real-world performance was modest, cinema would later immortalize it. The DeLorean became a paradox, a failed car that became a timeless legend. Japan, quietly relentless, continued its ascent. The Nissan Skyline GTR emerged as a new kind of monster. one born not of brute strength, but of precision. With its advanced technology and extraordinary grip, it conquered racetracks and hearts alike. The skyline wasn't loud about its dominance. It simply proved it, lap after lap. In Britain, defiance found form in the Lotus Esprit. Light, sleek and elegant, designed not for luxury but for performance. Its appearance in cinema, diving beneath the waves, turned it into an icon of style and innovation. The Esprit captured the essence of Lotus philosophy: add lightness, gain speed. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, another American legend emerged: the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. With its screaming eagle emblazoned on the hood and its defiant personality, it embodied the rebellious spirit of the 1970s. It wasn't just a car, it was a character. Untamed, unapologetic, alive. But for those who valued purity over pomp, Germany offered perfection. The BMW 3 Series, launched in 1975, it was the golden balance. Not too big, not too loud, but built with precision that bordered on obsession. It became the benchmark for sports sedans, a car that didn't boast, it simply performed. And as the 1980s dawned, a new kind of dream took shape: digital, daring, and unbound by convention. The Ferrari Testarossa appeared with wide haunches and red lines that looked drawn by fire. It was the poster car of a generation, the car every child taped to their wall and whispered, "One day." In the same decade, the Mazda RX-7 danced to a different rhythm. Powered by a rotary engine, it sang unlike anything else. It was lighter, sharper, and alive in the driver's hands. The RX-7 proved that innovation wasn't only about speed, it was about sensation. And in the shadows, quietly preparing for a world it would soon dominate, a humble Japanese brand launched the Toyota Corolla AE86, a small, balanced coupe that would become a legend in drifting culture. It was affordable, simple, and yet perfectly tuned for joy. It was affordable, simple, and yet perfectly tuned for joy. The AE86 wasn't built to win races. It was built to make the driver feel alive.